Hi, it's Ray from Pro Shaper Workshop. We're back on the Scout again. We've been on the 52 Cadillac convertible restoration, and we're going to do a complete video series on that Cadillac, just like we intend to do on the Scout also. And we also have a 1970 Volkswagen convertible. And what's unique about the Volkswagen convertible, the way the Volkswagens are made, the skins are really close, so it's very difficult to get backside access, and that's a big issue with a lot of people, that you can't get a dolly in there to hammer out the welds and everything. So we'll be doing techniques a little bit different on that. That's a little bit down the line, but right now we're concentrating on the Cadillac and the Scout. And the Scout, as you can see, we made this patch panel. If you looked at the last couple videos, showed how we made this patch panel, which looks like a really simple patch panel, but it really isn't. It's very complicated. There's curve going this way and a curve going this way, and this front dives down. It's a very complicated little piece to make. So typically what you would do is you take the fender that we're patching this into, bolt the fender back in, and then you could get this all lined up with this, but this is all rotted, so there's no way we can line this up properly. So one thing we had to do is make this little interface, which isn't finished yet. This will go right in here like this, and this gets spot welded, and I don't even know if my spot welder will reach in there, so I might have to plug weld that. And then we have to punch or drill the holes through where it's going to mount on this inner structure. And we'll get that all going. In the meantime, on the fender, we took a little footage earlier where we took the dents out of it. We didn't take the dents out perfectly, we just roughed them out. So in order to get this thing lined up, we're going to have to make a flexible shape pattern, and Mark has made the flexible shape pattern. But also what we did was we made this interface right here, and this is going to be a welding station. We'll mount the fender right on this, clamp it on, and that fender interface, where it interfaces with the inner structure, is 43 3/8 of an inch long. So I cut this piece of angle iron 43 3/8 long, and that will give me the total distance I need. We'll mount the fender. We still have about this much of the flange on the fender left. We'll be able to clamp it on here and support the fender, and we'll put the patch panel on. The patch panel actually overlaps on the fender. You'll see that in a few minutes. And this is going to be a really good tool to get this all aligned. It'll be our welding station also. Very easy to do. I use these two, I call these my low jacks, or low vices rather. And they're really handy for a lot of stuff like this. It's sort of like you're always asking for help and you need somebody to hold something. Well, if you got two vices like this that are low, that you'll just find a million uses for them. And they're just cheap vices. This was a broken vice I bought for like $25, but it works fine for this. And this is a Chinese vice that was inexpensive. It's a really actually pretty nice vice, but we delegated it as a low vice. All right, to solve the problem of how to get that patch panel in the right place, I had Mark take the original patch panel flexible shape pattern that he made, which goes from here to here and here to here, and I had him extend it. So we made this new section, and then you just tape these two together. Also, Mark made these gauges, and this gauge here is really important. So we'll line that up right there on this edge. That's the terminal point there. And we have the little index mark that indexes right here. And then this is the top gauge to ensure that that all flows really nice. So between the 2 gauges and the flexible shape pattern, that's going to ensure that we've got that welded in the right spot. It's so easy to weld an 1/8 of an inch down or 1/8 of an inch up, and the whole thing's going to be all askew. And we're going to preliminary fit it. I have overlap on the original, on the new patch panel, and we can put a couple aluminum pop rivets in, or Clecos. I like the pop rivets because they're flush. They don't have the little tail hanging out. You use aluminum pop rivets. It takes 2 seconds to take them out with an 1/8-inch drill. So it's almost as fast as a Cleco. So we'll be doing that too. And now we'll peel this off, and you'll see how we use this as a measuring tool to ensure that we get this patch panel welded in perfectly where it's supposed to be. So as we showed you earlier, we don't have the landing spot where we can put the fender and fit everything up on the car, because the whole landing spot is all rusted to heck. So the nice thing about this is eventually we're going to have a patch, or a complete flexible shape pattern for the entire fender, which we'll be doing on an all aluminum Scout at some point in the future. I don't know how far out, but I want to prove that point, because the hood on this thing, we should weigh the hood to see how heavy that hood is, and the weight savings of just making all aluminum panels is just going to be amazing. So that's going to be a cool comparison between a steel Scout versus an aluminum Scout. And it really makes me wonder why they just don't make all cars aluminum to get right from the get-go, because of course they're a little more difficult to repair, but the fuel savings would be amazing. Even if it was electric or gas, it would be so much more efficient. So we're going to take this now, we'll peel this off, and we'll use this as a measuring tool, and you're going to see that. All right, here we have the Scout fender mounted onto this little angle iron piece, which is mimicking the mount section on the actual car. And this is the little interface piece here that gets spot welded onto the fender. Let me get that patch panel. Here's the lip. That was a real bugger to create this lip. This goes like that, and then this is going to get welded onto here. Well, actually, it goes like that. It's overlapping. So that's all going to be welded together, but we got to get this all lined up perfectly before we can start trimming, and after trimming we'll do the tacking. First I got to get this. I cut this the proper length, and I've got the remnant of the old interface piece, this piece, flush with the end of that. And now I have to grind this back so it's flush with this. I'm going to grind that interface. I'm going to weld that together. And this is just a straight line here. I'm going to double check that. I think it's all straight 90-degree bends. So once we get that, we'll get this clamped. That'll be welded. And now we have a nice interface potential here for holding that. And then it's just a matter of making sure this has the ability to go up and down a little bit. This has to register here perfectly, so when it gets cut, it'll drop down a little bit. And we want to make sure that we've got the cardboard gauge to double check this radius, and we'll have the cardboard gauge to double check this radius. Now initially I was thinking that it would be best to change out this piece, but I think if we work from the top down, I think it'll be easy to change this piece out. So that's what we're going to do next, is get this piece welded and fit and welded in there in the proper spot. All right, now we have this interface all lined up. The angle iron is straight, the interface is straight with the angle iron. We've got it terminating right at the end of the angle iron, which is already the correct measurement. So all we have to do is weld this here and weld that there, and that angle iron will be ready to go. I always like to have the hose or the cable supported. I don't like to put it over my neck or anything. So this is an old IV stand here, works really sweet. All right, now I'm going to use this Everlast torch. This one has a on-off switch as an option. Thumb operated switch. I like that on this situation, so I'm going to use that. I'm just going to tack it initially here. All right, so we got that all welded. I got it welded on the back side. It's not the prettiest weld, but it'll hold. This weld here, I've just got a tack, but we'll finish it up from the bottom side after. And now we have something to hang on to. Now we can put the new piece on there like that. Now this new piece, we've got to find the total length of the actual fender. Sometimes they'll be a little bit longer than the interface piece. So we got to go get that measurement to get the total length. That'll give us the positioning this way. And then we have the positioning this way. And then we got the double check with the flexible shape pattern and the gauges. So that's what we got to do next, is find that measurement. So I actually just used a piece of sheared aluminum here. Well, actually that isn't corrupted, so we can go right from the very end. Let's try that. Hold that, Mark. I used just this strip and made some tick marks. Yeah, sometimes it's more accurate than trying to figure all the fractions or the decimals or whatever. Hold it flush right with the end. We're good right there. So it's flush right with it. So that's good. So now we have our gauges. So now we can put a clamp in here. So I put a few preliminary clamps here, and now we can set that top gauge on. All right, so here's our top gauge, and that should fit pretty nice right on the top. It's looking pretty good, so we're good on that. And then this should fit pretty good right here. So you can see this has to come way out like that. So what we're going to have to do, because if you don't get it out to where that's supposed to be, this weld point will slide a little bit and you'll get the weld point at the wrong spot, and you'll find out the fender's all distorted. Now, if we had the front section that we could bolt it to, but we can't do that because this is all rotted away here. So we're going to have to come up with a solution for this. So that means we'll probably clamp a piece of metal in the back here, and it will hold it so that it holds it right in position just like that. The gauge will be good. And then we have the option of scoring it here or using a magic marker and cutting the fender here and making this the weld point here. Or from the back side, we can score it here and cut the new panel rather than this panel. This needs a little rust repair still here. We got to navel jelly a little bit of that. So I think this is as far as I want to go with it today. You can see how much is involved in making sure that everything is lined up. We'll get this rust removed here. We'll probably cut the new piece rather than the fender smaller. And we'll do all our welding and everything right on this when we do the welding. So we got to rust remove here with the navel jelly a little bit more. We'll clean this edge so we get a beautiful straight edge here. We'll make a little bracket that will hold this in the right curve, and we'll have that clamped on, make sure that the gauge fits both ways. And then we can actually check the flexible shape pattern too. We'd have to put a couple clecos or pop rivets in, and then check it with the flexible shape pattern, which would be another check before we actually committed to cutting. Once we cut, that's it. It's our fate is sealed, and then we have to clamp this up, and then we can weld this right in place right here on the fixture. Oh, I think we'll quit right here, and because there's still a bunch to do, and it's very difficult to do it in a short video. And the shorter videos, I think, are the best format, and it takes a lot of effort to make these videos. So even though we might have a 15 or 20-minute video, it might take 2 hours or so just to do the video and then the editing and everything. So I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to follow up with cutting the metal here and then welding it in. That'll be the next installment on this fender. And then we'll have this section to do and the little patch down here to do. and then we'll have to metal finish the whole thing. And that fender will be pretty much complete when we get that done. And then the next installment will be, we have to deal with this inner structure. Now we have another 67, this is 66 Scout, and this part is perfect and it's all exposed on the other Scout. So we'll map this out. It's basically all flat panel work, just bent up 90-degree angles. And we'll make a pattern for this, and we'll make this piece. And we're also going to have to make this inner fender, inner structure here, and that will all have to be removed. And we'll get this left-hand corner pretty much figured out before we go on with more Scout Series videos. So this nose piece will have to come off, and that has to be addressed, but I think we'll do this first. Hope you enjoyed this video. It's Ray from Pro Shaper Workshop, and please remember to subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends. And remember, we've got over 200 videos at our YouTube homepage, a wealth of information there. And remember that metal is clay.